say. It's something that I don't believe should be the only thing, but it's something that we have to have.
Okay, I really want to hear from all of you on this, because this is so, you are all at Ivy League schools. You three are at Yale, you're at Dartmouth. These are two of the best schools in the country. And you clearly got the foundation education you needed so you could succeed at these Ivy League schools. But you had something else before you got to there, right? You had something else before you got to school, in that you had parents and family at home that laid a foundation for you. The No Child Left Behind law makes no provision for children who are not coming out of homes where they have that kind of undergirder.
Right.
And it makes no provision for the essential elements, those foundation pieces, to be provided in the schools. Right. So what is the purpose of the title?
I find NCLB very problematic, again, primarily because it's leaving a lot of children behind. It's leaving inner city children behind, and it's leaving special education children behind, because it's placing these demands on special education students that they can't meet, and they aren't giving the funding to meet. You can't set up a plan for big government and then not fund it. I think that's my biggest problem with it. You can't say that, you know, you can't, my mom's a second grade teacher at an inner city school, and you can't place these demands on her and not give her the resources and the funding to meet it. It's just impossible. It's not doing the children, and it's certainly not doing the teachers any good. It's not encouraging any, you know, young adults to enter the teaching profession, because you're placing these unreasonable demands on children and teachers. And I think that the biggest problem, and I think, is the disparities between inner cities and between like what's going on in the suburbs. It may be okay for a suburban school. They may be able to meet those requirements. But inner cities have unique problems, and placing the same standards on them is just, it's really not very thoughtful. And I think this is somewhere where I think, you know, local control is important. And I think that this was an overreaching policy that wasn't well funded, that was extremely underfunded. And
I think also,
Go ahead.
Also, I think part of the problem is not just the funding, but as Ms. Shani was saying, that the main problem with these schools is that they don't have, is that they're in environments where most of the kids don't have a foundation at home of people who are supporting them and reading to them when they're little. And so in a way, it doesn't even matter how much funding you give to the schools, because they just don't have the children when they get to, I mean, no, I'm not saying the funding, I'm not saying the funding doesn't matter, but I'm saying, I think in a way that's not, like, there are two different issues: the funding and also the fact that they just don't get the same kind of support system in a lot of these communities.
That's why the funding for inner city school programs need to be much greater than in economically advantaged communities, where you have parents with the resources necessary to provide their children with a good head start. You see, because the parents who can't have that, their children are behind from day one.
Right.
And the reason that you have a higher dropout rate among disenfranchised groups is exactly because when you can't keep up, the frustration of knowing you're going to fail push you out. You know, so you're failing at an earlier stage than getting. Then you don't get to college.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? We have children who are failing much sooner. But if we have a law called No Child Left Behind, psychologically, what does that say to people? You know, the same with the Clear Skies Bill. I come back to that. The names we give to things are intended to deceive, I think.
Right.
So are you,
so what's
for
your
example,
point?
for the No Child Left Behind Act, do you think that giving funding to schools would, do you think that the program itself, if it was funded, would have been a successful initiative?
No.
Well, not completely, but go ahead.
I think there's too much standardized testing. I think that you can't expect, if you expect teachers to teach the test, then you can't expect them to get the kind of, you know, education. You need to give teachers flexibility. Teachers can't, you know, I see my mother just struggle to fit 3 hours of math in and teach exactly to this, you know, 3 hours of English, teach exactly this test. And, you know, the social studies I enjoyed so much as a kid, the science, there's the lessons, social lessons, because that's what a lot of school is about. It's building that foundation.
When you're teaching to the test, what else are you not teaching? What are all the other things? So I'm saying,
social
when
skills,
you're teaching to the test for math and English, what else are you not teaching? Because there are just so many hours in the day that you're teaching.
Right.
But there's so much that we can talk about this. I still want you guys to get back to talking a little bit about before our time ran out, the media, how objective is our media today, and what has happened to our media? What has happened to the media in the last 4 years? How do you feel about the media?
I get very angry at the media because I feel like we're a democracy, and in order for there to be a democracy, people need to participate in the government, and people can't, since we're not all living in Washington right now and watching everything that goes on, somebody has to communicate to us what is going on, and it's the job of the media to tell us, here's what happened today.
Why aren't they doing it?
Well,
why aren't we seeing the caskets coming home at Andrews Air Force Base? Why aren't we hearing, you know, why didn't we get in the media the names of the 20 senators who wouldn't sign on to the Mississippi, that law that apologized for lynching? Why aren't we seeing those kinds of information, Denise?
I feel like the media is very biased to the right, actually.
But why are they? How come they just become biased? What's the reason?
I feel like the Bush administration, and I come back to that again, I feel like that the Bush administration has influence with the economics, the power. They've influenced the media, and it's very easy for them to put their people in the right places so that their ideals can be propagated via the media, in my opinion.
Is that the reason, Jeffrey?
I mean, what I find really interesting about this topic is that, you know, there's so many people out there, you know, we've all said that our country is so polarized. You know, we have, you know, we have a very left-wing camp and a very right-wing camp. And what Denise just said about the whole media being very right-wing, something that I just, you know, can't really agree with, because I don't see.
How do you see it?
I mean, I don't believe that the media is completely 100% fair. Obviously, I don't think anyone believes that. But at the same time, I believe that I think that our tendency to blame the Bush administration for everything that's, you know, wrong with, like, you know, the entire country is something that I don't think is it's not healthy, and it's not good for our country itself.
Okay.
Well, I think both sides think that the media is biased the other way.
Oh yeah, no.
I hear a lot of people talking about the conservative media and a lot of people talking about the liberal media. Yeah, like all the time. And I, frankly, being neither one and also not really consuming that much media, honestly, like I hardly ever watch the television news. And
you're busy at school getting good education.
That's true. But I feel my main problem with the media is that I mean, it bothers me. I mean, I guess there's no other way for this to be, but they have so much control over what we think, and not so much what we think, but what we think about.
The
just
way
what
a
they
story
choose.
is framed.
Like, yeah, for example, even with, for example, this girl who's disappeared in Aruba, like that's a huge story right now. And I understand that's a very serious thing, but, you know, this is not the first time anyone's ever disappeared on vacation. And they act like it's a huge deal, because I guess because she's, you know, really cute and the homecoming queenie and very marketable, and everyone in the country will get worried about her. But I feel like the media is just so sensationalist in the way that they report. It's all, I think the media, they consider their job right now to get people to watch the television and to sell papers and magazines. And I think what it should be is to get people the information that is important to them. Like,
is that why we're not getting any hard news?
Well, I think I agree. It's same thing with the Jessica Lynch story. When you had Shoshana Johnson, another POW who didn't get that same attention because, you know what, she didn't look like Jessica Lynch.
Right, exactly.
And I think that is a problem. And I think, you know, it's interesting because I think a big problem with America today is that people don't consume enough information. People aren't knowledgeable enough about what's going on. And what they do get is little bits and pieces on little news, whatever sensational, you know, the headlines, right? So we read the headlines, and the media knows that we only read the headlines, so they're going to put that, you know, attention-grabbing excerpt that they can in, and that, I think, is, you know, that's deceiving people as well, because that's pushing people right to left. And
I'm sorry, I don't mean to interrupt you, but that still doesn't go to the question which you were asking. Why aren't the caskets? I mean, I would think that would be sensational news. I would want to see know what was going on. And you were talking about casualties, like the soldiers committing suicide and things of that nature. Those are things that I want to hear about.
Because it's all connected, and there are a lot of connections between the political institution and the media.
Yes, that's my thing.
Can't be denied.
So we hear that the media is looking to sell more papers or get people to watch television, so they sensationalize things. Okay, so that's one piece.